Well, hello, everybody. How are you today? Are you excited to start class? Today we are going to go into our second part of the series of analytical writing, where we're doing a bit of reading, and then we're going to talk about how we analyze it and how we write it. So first of all, I'd like to say welcome to everybody. This is Smrt English Live, and we use the Smrt curricula here, which is all we use in the Spokane College of English Language. My name is Joshua Porter. I'm the director here and teacher of Smrt Live classes. So welcome everybody. We have some familiar faces. We have Sarbajit was the first to comment. Congrats, Sarbajit. Rosa is back. What's up, Rosa? How are you? We've missed you. Really good to have you here. French Leo, thank you for joining us as always. We have Rakesh, we have Bharat, we have Steve. What's up, Steve? Aaron is here. Aaron, how's it going? Good to see you. And who else is joining us? Nandish. Did I say Nandish? Maybe. Smrt. We have lots of fun people in the house today. Gola, what's up? Raka. We have Deary. Hello. Lots of smiley faces there. Good to see you. Jose, what's up, Jose? Good to have you. Dijama, or maybe it's like DJ Ma. That's kind of cool. I like it. We have someone called How To. That's a cool screen name. Ella is here again. Okay, so, Sarbajit has a question. When I was reading the short story, I can understand the meaning of each word differently, but it was hard for me to understand some sentences. We'll take a look at the story. We'll read a couple paragraphs together and see if we can break it down. That can be a difficult issue for language learners. We learn the vocabulary words, but something so important that we have to learn is context. Remind me if I forget to talk about it, but I've talked about context before. I'm going to apply the word here. We're going to use it in the context of academic reading and analytical writing. First video for you, Mr. or Miss Arabic name. I can't read Arabic, I'm sorry, but hello. We have a first timer. What should we call you? Let us know what you want us to call you, and we will call you that. Victor's here as well. Alok Mishra. Alok Mishra. It's the first time for you as well. Awesome. Welcome. Hello. Hopefully I'm saying your name correctly. Is it Alok? 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 Abdul is here as well. So a couple of first timers. Welcome. We have lots of amazing people here today from all over the world, all different time zones. Looks like there's 36 people watching right now. Usually we get up to like 60 or 70. I'd love to see those numbers grow too, so tell your friends. Let's make our class huge. Let's get the conversation going, make it really dynamic. So if there's somebody at your school, friend of yours, family member, your mom, your dad, your brother, sister, cousin, uncle, aunt, whomever, invite them. Have them log on. You guys can chat with each other in the chat and talk about all the great English, and then you can practice English outside of class as well, which is really important. It's very important that you do that. So, really quick for our first timers, since we have first time people in the house, my name is Josh Porter. I'm the director here at Spokane College of English Language. I'm going to bring up our college site right here. This is the college I work for. This is Spokane College of English Language, and this is our website. It's usa-english.com. I have notes here for you that gives you those addresses. I'm going to make the font a little bit bigger for us. Let's go all the way up to 30, yeah? So this is the class. If you want to join and become a premium subscriber, the class is free. You can be in here watching the video, listening to me live, asking me questions live, getting answers live. You can also become a premium subscriber and talk to me outside of class. Of course, if you say hi on Facebook, I'm going to say, what's up? How's it going? but I only answer like grammar questions or reading or writing questions for our premium subscribers, because if I didn't, I would have a million questions a week to try to answer. So if you want to join, go to that link. You could also check out our website. You could even apply for college in the US. We have some really great programs right now and some great opportunities for you. There's even some promotions available, free Chromebook or tablet for students, for those who qualify. And we also have some scholarships and discount rates available for different opportunities for those who qualify. So check it out. Go to our website, and then also email us if you have questions at study@usa-english.com. Facebook is also a good resource. We have an amazing group of people. That's my Facebook page I put in the chat here. Here is our college. And I'm also going to direct you, one last place, to the Facebook, Learn English on Facebook, using Smrt. I didn't bring this up ahead of time, so bear with me. Oh, I didn't even sign in. I try to stay off Facebook if I can, because it can take up a lot of your time, as many of you know. But it is a great resource to practice English if you need some English practice. Learn English on Facebook with Smrt. This is a great page. If you're not already a member, check it out. So that is that. Here are our notes. I'm going to talk about, and this is our story for the day, for the last class, this class, and next class, To Build a Fire by Jack London. This is such a cool story. It's an old, classic American fiction piece, and it's really, really entertaining to read. I love nature. I love being out in nature. I love hiking. I love kayaking. I love rock climbing. We have a rock climb club here at the college that I go to, and I'll teach students and help them not just learn English, but learn how to rock climb. How cool is that, right? So being out in nature is a big thing for me, and so I connect to this story very well. But even if you don't, even if you love being inside, ordering pizza, delivery, and playing video games all day, or, you know, playing chess at home, quiet corner, sipping on some tea or coffee, then you can still encounter stories like this and analyze stories like this. And you will likely have to do this if you go to university in an English-speaking country. This book is on, it's a short story, is on many university required reading lists. So we're going to talk about it. Okay, to answer your questions, I love how complimentary everybody is. All the students are calling each other wonderful, beautiful, so good to see you, love you guys. I love that in the classroom. That's what a classroom should be. We should care about each other, we should help each other, and we should learn from each other and teach each other. So every student is a teacher and every teacher is a student. That's a saying I have ever since right now. I just made it up and I like it. I'm going to stick with it. So to the lesson, I'm going to take attendance really quick for our premium subscribers. This is the landing page. Cool videos there. Good English practice for later. Looks like everybody is checked in except a couple. And we are going to go to the Smrt page that has this. So this class, the class that we're going over, is English 140, English for academic purposes. So this is a great class for students who want to go into academics or want to improve their English, academic English, which is also sometimes formal English, for the business world. And it's a great aspect of English to focus in on if you want to pursue higher education, if you want to pursue management or leadership in business, in marketing, international sales, tourism, any of those sorts of things. We do have classes for that as well. Smrt Curricula has English for tourism, English for hospitality, English for aviation, English for automotive industry. So there's a lot of options within our colleges, us here in Spokane, Washington, USA, and our wonderful colleagues at the Canadian College of English Language up in Vancouver, BC, all work together collaboratively to help produce and nurture some of the best, most advanced curricula that exists. It's a real joy to teach and be a part of. So, glad everybody's here. Glad everybody's having a good day. Thank you for welcoming our new students. What we're going to do now... hello. Let's see. Iracema, I think. Is that Portuguese? Hello from Brazil. Hello. Yeah, Piracicaba. I'm saying that wrong, I'm sure. I'm so sorry. It's very good to have you here, though. Hello, Brazil. What's up, Brazil? All right. Derry, I love your saying, Joe. Oh, thank you. Every student is a teacher, every teacher is a student. Thank you. You spread that around. Tell people I said it. Tell other people. It's a good saying. We'll stick with it. Oh, jeez. We have someone who changed their name to I'm Sorry Rosa and Hello from the Moon. Wonder who that could be. No idea. If you've been in the class before, you'll probably know. Nandish. All right. You like... you're giving movie recommendations. So yeah, we can do movie and recommendations and book recommendations as part of this class too, because it'd be good to give you something to an assignment for yourself, something to go home to watch or read and then analyze it and write about it. That's the goal of this class, is we're practicing our writing skills. So hello from Afghanistan. People are still coming into the class. We're up to 48 now. More people will join in soon, I think. But we got to get moving. We got to get talking about this great story. So what questions do you have? For those of you that were here last class, you read the story. What questions do you have? For those of you that were not in the class, I'm going to share this link right now in the chat. Check it out if you haven't read it, and just start to read a couple paragraphs or so. For those of you that did read it, I'd like to know. I'm opening the questions up to the chat. What questions do you have about the reading? I'll post your questions in here in case you're watching this video later when we're not live, after we're recorded. And I'm going to type this in the chat as well, but what questions do you have about the story? Sarbajit talked about understanding the words individually, but not understanding them all put together. So I'm going to write that down because I think that is a great question. So the question is, how can I understand the words in context? Or, so Sarbajit was saying how he understood the words individually. I understand the individual vocabulary, and we can put this in here too. I understand the individual vocabulary, words, but not when they are used together. It's a great question, and I am happy to answer that one. JB87, it's JB's second time here. Welcome, JB. That's good. You started out on the last class. If you missed it, you can watch it. It's an introduction to analytics and to academic reading and writing. Those two are so connected, remember? And then, and so that's a really good place to start. What other questions do we have? Who read the story? Who has questions about it? In just a second, I will get for you the questions that I posed as homework last week. I gave some ideas, some prompts to sort of think about what we want to look for, or what we were going to analyze with this particular story. All right, I'm searching here. Okay, that's the homework before. Here we are. So, these were just considerations. This is the homework for last week that the premium subscribers got. This was consider the following while reading the story. Let me bring the lesson back up here for you. Consider the following when reading the story. There are 3 conflicts. So in fiction, there is sort of a story arc, and it is essentially the same story arc in all fiction, whether it's a movie, whether it's watching, a Spider-Man or Batman comic book movie, the movie Titanic. All of these movies have a similar story arc where there's sort of a status quo, there's the way things are, and then all of a sudden there's a conflict. So there's a conflict that arises, there's a problem that arises. And then there is a point at which a decision must be made. You must make a decision, a choice. So there's conflict, and then there's a decision, a choice. And then there's a climax. The climax is the height of the action, where everything sort of comes to a culmination. And then there's resolution. The resolution is sort of just the falling action. That is when things settle down. Either the story ends happily or sadly. And that's essentially the same formula for all stories, from novel to short fiction like this story to film. There's of course variations of it, but that's the core of fiction. Hi from Bangladesh, good to have you here. So, how to write a great article. We can talk about the writing aspect in a little bit. I want to talk about the reading aspect because this is analytical, right? So we need something to analyze. This is our source material. So there are 3 conflicts that can be understood from the story. There's man versus self, right? And maybe just for the purpose of, you're watching from Maryland, so you're in the US. Hello, good to have you here. And that was Abdirahman. Abdirahman. That's an interesting spelling there. I haven't seen it spelled that way, or that name before. So there are these conflicts: man versus self, man versus dog, and man versus nature. But I think to explain that to anyone who is just showing up, I will need to kind of go over a synopsis of To Build a Fire. And then we'll actually look at some of the text. But I'm looking up a synopsis right now because I don't want to miss anything for you. So there's this man, and this is in a time before electricity, so think matches and lighters and oil lamps, that kind of thing. He's traveling to the Yukon. It's near the border of Alaska, United States, so way, way north. We looked at a map last class, and he's with his dog. It's a husky wolf hybrid dog, so it's like half wild animal, half dog, domesticated dog. So it represents, so Miriam is asking, what is so special about this story? Does it represent a particular school of literature? I'm not quite familiar with your culture. That's what I'm trying to explain right now. This story is a big part of American culture. So in America, I'm going to bring up a map here so I can show you where we're talking about. That may help a little bit. So let's look at Alaska, United States. It's the most northern state in the United States. It sort of makes a United States-Canada sandwich, right? Where we have Alaska up here, Canada, the United States, continental United States. And little old Hawaii out in the ocean. So this man is up here in the Yukon, kind of on the border of Alaska and Canada. So why is he up here? He is up here because during this time, the time when the story takes place, which I want to make sure I get that right too. We're just going to look up a little bit on the history of to build a fire. I want to say 1800s, early 1900s. So it was published in 1902 and 1908, so we can assume it never says a date in the story, but we can assume the action is taking place in the late 1800s, early 1900s. And so during this time, it's pre-electricity, people are riding horses to travel, and there's a huge gold rush. Gold was the most valuable mineral in the United States during the time, so they called it the gold rush. And this was people going out and searching for free money in the mountains, in the dirt. It's like you just dig down and there's free money, right? So you can imagine how motivating that was. So this story does represent a part of literature, American historical fiction even. I mean, this could have happened. There's nothing imaginary about it. It's a story that could be true. It's not. It's invented. It's a fiction story, but it could be, is the point. So that is what's familiar, Miriam, about this story to our culture. And this is also a story, if you say chose to come and study at a college in the United States, that your professor might have you read and analyze and talk about. I read it in university. A lot of my colleagues and the teachers here read this story in university. It's a pretty popular one in American culture. So, okay, we're talking about Maryland and mountains. It kind of fits. Different side of the United States, but other questions are, is it fiction? Yes. So is fiction different from academic writing, or is it a part of it? Great question, Rosa. I'm going to write that one down because I really like your question. It's a good one to answer and to talk about. And I encourage more questions. Please ask me a bunch of questions today. Because when I was in university, I remember being in a poetry class, and the professor kept saying this word again and again. And I don't even remember what the word was. I think it was like consonants or iambic pentameter, some of those words that you use in poetry, right? And everyone around me, I felt embarrassed because I was like, well, they seem to know what the professor's talking about. They're nodding their heads and they're going, yeah. And the professor went through almost an hour of lecture, and at the end of it, I couldn't take it anymore. I felt embarrassed a little bit because I was like, oh, I should have to know this. I'm in university. I should be, smart enough to know what this word means. But my curiosity beat out my embarrassment. I wanted to know what it meant more than I felt sheepish and embarrassed for not knowing what it meant. So I raised my hand and I said, excuse me, I'm sorry, I just don't know what that word means. And I felt a huge weight off my shoulders when I did that. And everyone around me was like, yeah, what does that mean? What is that word? And I realized that everybody had that same question. None of us had experienced that information before, so we didn't have it. So ever since then, I've never been embarrassed to ask questions. I'm always like, hey, what does that mean? I don't know what that is. Because the truth is, we don't know a whole lot more than we do know. So there's always going to be information that you'll need to learn. That's why we're always learning, right? Every teacher's a student and every student's a teacher. So please ask questions. Never be embarrassed to ask questions. I will answer every one of your questions, and you can ask it again. If you forget, ask me 100 times. I will give you 100 answers, no problem. That's what's so important about coming to a class and learning, right? So, great question. Rosa's question is, and then we'll come back to Sarbajit's because I realize we haven't answered that one yet. Is fiction different from academic writing, or is it part of it? So, yes and no. Not an easy answer necessarily, but fiction can be academic itself, but it is often used in academic writing. At university, you will often write about fiction. So it depends on your major, of course, but you will often write about fiction. Sometimes if you go into a field like the hard sciences, mathematics, engineering, you won't often write about fiction. But your first 2 years at university, you will have 101 courses. You may have a creative writing course, poetry course, English 101. They'll ask you to read a piece of fiction. If you go to an English-speaking university, you're going to have to read fiction and write about it. So you're writing about the fiction. What you write is academic writing. It should be academic writing. The fiction itself, maybe, maybe not. Mark Twain is a famous American author. Samuel Clemens is his real name. And his writing, I would not call academic writing. I would call it vernacular or good storytelling. He uses slang a lot. And it's not academic writing in and of itself, but many, many people write about his writing because it speaks about a lot of things. It speaks about the culture, it speaks about the humor. So you will often write about fiction quite often. Hopefully that answers your question a little bit, Rosa. If you want more information, please ask again or ask for further information about it or send me an email. Any of that works. Back to Sarbajit's question of earlier. How can I understand words in context? I understand individual vocabulary words, but not when they are used together. This is the key word that I wanted to talk about here, context. And I want to define context for you. Context is the situation in which you are using vocabulary. For the purposes of this class, this is a pretty good definition, I think. We might revise this definition or make it more clear, or if you have a better definition, if you know this word, please feel free to write it. I'd love to include a student definition. Context is the situation in which we are using the vocabulary. Here's the example I always give for my students. What does this word mean? What does this word mean? Cool. Cool, right? It can be temperature. I have a kombucha drink here, and it's not cold, it's not hot, it's cool. The temperature, it's cool. I also have a lot of teachers who are awesome. They're cool teachers. So this word by itself doesn't really have any meaning. It's only when we attach it to context. So if the context is at a party, still we don't know. It could be ice in a drink, or it could be a really awesome person. I'll write that down for you. Could be ice, could be a person. If we're talking about if the context is wind, wind is never really awesome, right? It's talking about temperature. Oops. We're talking about temperature. We sometimes can figure out from context, but sometimes we need a little bit of context, sometimes we need a lot more context. But context is what helps us define the word. So, Sarbajit, to answer your question, knowing the denotative definition, whatever's in the dictionary, is good, but you're going to slow down if you stop and look up every word and all its meanings. So instead, just keep reading and see if you can figure it out on your own. If after a sentence or two or the whole paragraph you're still not sure, make a note of it and go back to it and look them up later. You might understand after reading a bigger portion of the story. So it takes practice and time, but we'll look at a couple passages, and if you have an example of a passage that didn't make sense to you, please let me know what page and what line, and we can look at it. Okay, so going back to make sure I answer all your questions. Gola has a lot of questions, but doesn't know English very well. That's okay. Check out if you want to learn English well, or if my English is too difficult for you, if I speak too quickly, or if you have a lot of difficulty understanding me, listening to me, you can join one of our other classes and build up and then come back here when you've practiced more. You could do that by going to smartenglish.com/live/live. I'll put that in the chat again. Hopefully that will help you. Going back to the questions, it's nice. We have so many questions here. All right. But I'll be happy to answer all of them for you. Okay. A Brazilian municipality in the interior of the state of São Paulo. Very cool. Glad to have you here. Welcome. Happy to have you. Okay. So going back down a little bit more to make sure I get these questions. I always want to ask a good question in class, but I'm very shy. Henok, great. I was too. I'm still shy. It's still difficult sometimes to ask questions. It's always a little difficult to say, hey, I don't know this thing. But I promise you'll feel better when you do just say that. Learning is important, and everybody should respect the fact that we are always all learning. So ask away. Any question you have, I'm happy to answer it. I'm sorry, Rosa asks, can you brief about framing of academic writing? I'm not sure exactly what your question is. The framing of academic writing. If you want me to define academic writing, I can do that for you. So what is academic writing, right? That's a great question. Academic writing, and here's your answer. Whoop. Is writing using specific, I'm going to say specific rules and form for the purposes of making a point or argument to promote the growth of human intellect. Okay? That's a clunky definition. I just made it up right now. We could just simply Google what is academic writing. But in my mind, academic writing is writing using specific rules and forms. So kind of like in science, how there's the scientific method. You form a hypothesis. I don't remember the scientific method off the top of my head, but it's something that all scientists in the world sort of agree upon. Academic writing is sort of the same way. There are different rules and forms. So there's APA style, there's MLA style. There was a great series I did on APA, and we may do it again in the future to cover more information, but it's specific rules and form that everybody can kind of agree upon. Where if you go to a university that uses English in Australia, in the UK, in Canada, here in the United States, anywhere in the world that speaks English, you should be able to submit a paper that you wrote, academic writing, and a professor would say, yes, this is a good paper. There's always differences. Differences exist. There always are differences from professor to professor, teacher to teacher, but it has the same general purpose. The purpose and point that you're trying to make, the argument you're trying to make. Academic arguments are intellectual arguments, but they all seek to promote the growth of human intellect. Whether that is the writer So when your teacher gives you writing assignments in 101 English, as you're just starting out trying to get a bachelor's degree, the goal is to promote growth of human intellect in the writer. As you get on in your education and you get an advanced degree, or you become an expert in your field through practicum or research or study, then the paper is less for the writer, and the writer becomes the educator. And the paper is to promote the growth of human intellect in its readers, in the audience. So hopefully that helps you frame what academic writing is. And French Leo's right. Thank you for the encouragement. He's encouraging Hanok to ask their questions. So that's great. Hanok is a little scared of teachers. Don't be scared. Everybody's a teacher and everybody's a student, remember? So you can't be scared of yourself, right? So ask away any question you have. We're happy to help you answer it. And I say we, right? We all help each other learn. Brief framing, okay. Answered Rose's question, good, that's good. Portuguese pronunciation, I'm gonna work on that. That one is a little difficult for me. Priraski, yeah. I will work on the pronunciation of the city. I'm sure it's beautiful though. Brazil is from what I hear gorgeous. I've never been, love to go. I hear it's a beautiful, beautiful country. Okay, you're taking notes. That's good. Note taking is very good. All right. We're gonna have to move pretty quickly here because we have about 15 minutes left of class here. I'm glad you guys are using the word context. That's awesome. I'm a little behind in the notes or the questions here. You guys have so many great questions. What if we can learn vocab fast but find it difficult to use it in a sentence? Is it a lack of imagination? Not necessarily, no. And this is from Blurry Face Bug. That is a really unique screen name. Okay, Blurry Face Bug. So if you can learn vocabulary fast, but you have difficulty using it in a sentence, here's what you can do. As part of your vocabulary learning, when you discover the word, test it out. Use it. When you find or when you buy a new tool, you usually buy the tool because you need it. You want to use it, right? It's the same thing with vocabulary. And vocabulary you can stumble upon though, right? You can just find it. You're reading a book, a newspaper, you're listening to music or watching a movie, and you learn new vocabulary. Test it out, play with it, use it. Make yourself use the word in context. If you have friends who are better English speakers than you, reach out to them with that new word. Let's say, for example, you don't know the word intellect. If this is a new word for you, that's fine. Go use it today. Go send 5 friends Facebook messages that know English, especially if they know English better than you, and just test it out. You don't have to tell them that you learned the word today. You can just try it out. Or you could just give them an example sentence and say, hey, this is a new word for me. Is it correct? Say, I have a great intellect and I want to improve it every day. That's a good sentence. You could say that. If you say, I like to eat intellect in the morning, that's not a good sentence. You cannot use the word that way. And it would be very strange to hear a sentence like that. So if you test it out and somebody's like, what are you doing? That's crazy. Be like, oh, it's a new word. I was just trying it out. I wanted to practice and see if I could use it correctly. Guess I didn't. How do I use it correctly? It can start a conversation between 2 people where they can teach you how to use the word correctly. Everybody can be your teacher. Now it is important to consider, unless it is someone who knows English very well or an English teacher who can give you a definitive answer, then you could learn it incorrectly. And if that's the case, it's harder to unlearn. So keep that in mind too. You could seek it out. You could look at it in usage. You can Google the word and say example sentences with the word intellect, see different examples of it. But it's important you both take it in, see examples of it, and then also use it. That's really, really important to practice. So hopefully that helps. Which is correct? Barrett says, Josh, which one is correct? He looks cool or he look cool? Looks. With he, she, it, we should conjugate it with the S. Looks, or subject-verb agreement should be with an S. He looks cool. S, for sure. Good question. Okay, he seems cool. You can say that also. He looks cool, he seems cool. Seems, looks, those are linking verbs. Okay. Before we read the story or any other stories, do we have to read the author's bibliography? Can this help us understand the deep meaning of the story? I think you mean biography, Rosa. And I'll say that no, you don't have to read the author's biography. This is the word I think you mean. The story, the true story of a person. You do not have to read the author's biography, but it is helpful. It can help you quite a lot. To learn more about Jack London does help you understand the story better. Jack London, he is part of a movement of realism and naturalism. So his stories could be true, and they're very focused around nature and the natural world. So yes, it is helpful. And if you have the time, it is great. But you could certainly write an essay without knowing a single thing about Jack London if you wanted, based off the prompts that I gave. My prompts, the considerations I had were, there are three conflicts that can be understood from the reading: man versus self, man versus dog, and man versus nature. So we have an internal struggle, right? We're fighting against ourselves. We can be our own worst enemies sometimes. And that is an aspect that you can see in the story. It can be understood. We can have an exterior struggle within our ecosystem, within our world. Man versus dog is the struggle in this story. He has a companion that's a husky, but there's a bit of conflict there. There's a bit of struggle between the two. And you can see that in the story as well. And then there's man versus nature, something bigger than yourself. When I say man, I mean human being, right? So I'm going to change this actually. Human versus self. Human versus dog. And human versus nature. I do this because when you read academic writing or classic analysis, anytime someone says, man or mankind, they're talking about people, human beings, right? But half of us in the world are women, and I think we should be fair to that. So I'm going to say human versus self, human versus dog, or person. That's even better. Person versus self, person versus dog, person versus nature, right? This could be a man or a woman. So we have the struggle with ourself. We have the struggle with an outside source. This could be another person. In other stories it is. There's like the hero and the villain going back and forth. And then there's person versus bigger than themselves, something that they are a part of, but not, I'm not going to give you my analysis. A person versus nature or the natural world or luck or something like that is person versus something bigger than yourself. So it could be in yourself, it could be an equal, like a peer, maybe an animal, maybe another person, or it could be bigger than yourself. Those are the conflicts, and all three conflicts are present in this story. And we're going to do some analysis here. That's going to be the homework for tonight. So we'll talk more about it. Yes, Rosa, it's valuable to read about the author. Is it absolutely necessary in every circumstance? No. Do I suggest doing it? Yes. Hopefully that helps you. Which one is correct? Oh, I already answered that question. Okay, one last question. How to bring interest on some stories you don't like much. That can be hard sometimes, Sarbajit. How do I be interested in a story that I'm not really interested in? I use Hemingway as an example. I read Ernest Hemingway, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and this is a book that many people regard as being brilliant and wonderful. And it took me 100 pages before I even felt interested. The first 100 pages of For Whom the Bell Tolls, I was like, okay. I just really couldn't get into it. And then after 100 pages, I was like, oh, okay, I'm into this. I like this story. Same thing with Moby Dick, Herman Melville. I read that, and it took a long time before I felt interested in it. Or another example, I read The Great Gatsby. The Great Gatsby is a wonderful book. I love it now. It's one of my favorites. I've read it several times. The first time I read it, the vocabulary was too high for me. I had difficulty understanding it. I didn't really get the context. I should have read more about the author, when it was written, learned about the history. That is a book where it just wasn't the right time for me. So you're going to find different books at different times in your life, especially with fiction, and it's not always going to feel valuable or important, but don't give up on it. Give it a chance. Read through it. Don't just set it down after 5 pages and say, I don't like this. You might like it. It might take 100 pages before you like it. Or you might get all the way through it and still say, meh, I don't really like it. And then find it a year later and it'll be your favorite book. So I wish I had a good answer for you, Sarbajit. I don't think you can force yourself to be interested in something. Obviously, if your teacher gives you a book to read and you're assigned that, you have to read it and you have to write a story about it, you might have to work a little harder, but that doesn't mean that you can't find interest in it. Maybe do what Rosa said and read a little bit about the author. Find out why they wrote it. Maybe the story itself isn't super interesting, but the author is very interesting, and that's something that they took the time to write. So you can find interest there. There's a lot of different ways to sort of pique your interest. Read a little bit about the history. When was it written? Where was it written? Those things can be important. Animal Farm, for example. Animal Farm by itself is a story about talking animals that have a conflict with their farm owners. So it seems just like a silly sort of fictional animal story. But it's an allegorical novella that has a lot of historical context. The Russian Revolution, World War II, or World War I. And do I have, yeah. I think I need more coffee this morning. But anyhow, it's an allegorical novella that explores a whole lot of information that you have to have going into it. So I would say to understand a deeper meaning of the story can make it more interesting. So if we don't know that, if we don't know a little bit of backstory, we don't give it a fair chance, sometimes we can miss a really cool opportunity. I guess I'll say that. I'm going to look through some more of the comments here. Let me see. All right. Framing of academic writing. In my real class, sometimes I think my questions can be stupid, so I don't ask many questions, but I don't feel shy. With the live class, oh, that's very nice. Thank you, Sarbajit. Never feel stupid, and never worry about asking questions. Every teacher should love a good question. And there are, any question is a good question. It's a teacher's job to be patient and to listen to their students and to let students ask questions as many times as necessary to get the information that they need. So I'm glad that you feel comfortable asking questions here. I hope everybody does. Okay. Oh, blurry face. You're a funny student. That's good. Okay. Write down a list of words and put them in the dictionary. Look them up in the dictionary. Yes, that's a good strategy. So you can make a list of your words, kind of like we're doing in the notes here. You could just write them down somewhere, a piece of paper. You could say, I don't know what conflict means. Intellect. Keep reading. See if you can find out through context what those words mean. But don't worry about looking every single word up as you go. That's fine. You don't have to do that. I forget to use some words despite I memorized a lot of vocabulary. That's okay. You're not going to use every word you learn all the time. That's all right. We found a lot of difficult words in the same context. It's hard to not repeat them. That's true. Is there any alternative way? You can use synonyms. Just make sure that you're using appropriate synonyms, the best word for the best context, or for the particular context. Last question, how to bring interest. Okay, I hope I answered that for you, Sarbajit. All right. So we didn't have enough time. How many words do I need to know before going into college? That's a good question. And like a good teacher, I'm going to tell you that I don't know. I think it's important for a teacher to be honest and just say, I don't know how many words you should learn before college. I think there's an approximate number probably before you enter college in an American university. And I could do a little research and try to find out. You should feel comfortable in everyday conversation, and then you should feel like you can do a little bit more than that. Would be my instinct, my answer just off the top of my head. But I will look into it and see how many words maybe the average American college student needs. That's an interesting question. I will look into that. Okay, I think that is everything. Look for abstract ideas. Yep, that will often happen in analysis. Okay. You're asking me to speak a little slowly. I will do my best, but this is academic English. So if this is too difficult for you, be sure to check out our other classes that can help improve so that you can come back and listen at this pace. All right. Okay, so I think that's everything. What we're going to do is, these were the conflicts, right? We're going to, starting with class next week, we're going to read a little bit of the story. So if you didn't get a chance, or if this was your first class, go ahead and read the story. And then premium subscribers, I would like you to write me one paragraph analyzing one of these. I just want you to choose one conflict. So there are 3 conflicts that can be understood from the reading. This is your homework. Of these conflicts, and these were the other questions we were thinking. Where, if at all, does blame exist? Is there fault in the outcome of the story? So I'm going to change this a little bit and just say, choose one of these conflicts. Write a good English, academic English paragraph describing your opinion of the conflict. I actually don't want to be any more specific than that. I know that may seem a little bit vague. Normally a prompt I would ask, I would posit or pose, would be more focused. This is a lot less focused than most prompts I would give, but I have my reasons. I don't want I don't want to pigeonhole you or place you in a box where you have to write about a specific thing. I want to see what you get from the reading. So homework is read the story. If you've already read it, read it again. See if you can understand more of the context. Make lists, learn some vocabulary, test that vocabulary out this week, and then come back next week with a good academic English paragraph. So minimum of 5 sentences. It can be a lot more than that if you like, but a good academic English paragraph describing your opinion of the conflict. So just tell me what you think about it. That's another way to say it. What do you think about that particular conflict? Okay, is another way to say that. So that is the homework for this week. Thank you guys so much for being here. I'm really happy everybody was in class and we had so many great questions. We're going to do some reading together next week, and we're going to talk about how we would write an essay about this. So please come back next week, same time. Invite a friend. That's a little bonus homework for anybody. Invite someone that has not been to class before. So tell a friend, tell a family member, tell someone you meet at Starbucks, whatever it is. Tell someone else, bring them here next week, and we can talk about this. Share the link with them, have them read the story. It's right here. I'm going to put it in the chat as well so everybody can read it. And I will send the homework to our premium subscribers. So have a great day, everybody, or night, or afternoon, or evening. As always, thank you for being here. You guys are wonderful. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to our channel. Also, if you want the full experience of being a student in a Smrt Live class with things like homework and teacher feedback, follow the link and become a premium subscriber. Also, if you want to see more videos from this class, check out our playlist.